In the October of that same year, my parents, they didn't know what to do really. They were absolutely beyond themselves. They couldn't help me. There was nothing that, they couldn't force feed me. They were absolutely despairing, so they went and found some help. And I was admitted to a general psychiatric unit in Epsom, and they took me in as an inpatient, but I just dug my heels in. All that motivation and all that stubbornness that I used to put towards my swimming, it was now full pelt into not doing and carrying on losing weight. They put me on to a refeeding program, but it wasn't successful. I would be so angry when my parents came to visit me because I would see it as their fault that I was in there. Why couldn't they just take me home? It was their fault that they were leaving me here. What, did they not want me to be happy? Anyway, eventually my weight just carried on getting lower and lower. The weight was going down, and eventually they saw that it wasn't helping me being an inpatient. I was going in, I was eventually wearing my brother's dumbbells around my neck on a piece of string, so that when they weighed me, they thought I was a lot heavier than I was. I don't think they realised how thin I was. And eventually one day I went in and I just collapsed. At this point, my weight was just under 5 stone. So BMI, I was about BMI of 11. All my muscles internally were, my organs were eating themselves because there was no other muscle to utilise. And they said that I'd probably have about 5 days to live if I didn't start getting some nutrition into me. Even at that point, my anorexia was it was talking to me constantly. Don't let them do this to you. You're gonna win at this. You're gonna be the best at this. You keep doing what you're doing and get rid of it. Don't let them get any nutrition into you. So I was undoing the tubes, feeding the tubes into mouthwash bottles, pouring the nutrition away that was in that. So I was just losing more and more weight in there as well. But because I was so young, I think I was 15 at this point, there aren't actually many inpatient adolescent eating disorder units. So they were frantic, and they eventually got hold of the leading adolescent eating disorder specialist, who was based at King's College at the time. And he tried to speak to me, and at that point I just didn't talk to anyone. I didn't, because if I spoke to anyone, that's like a threat they can get in. I was just absolutely I didn't want to talk to anyone, just listen to what was going on in my head. And all that was going on in my head was just, don't listen to anyone, just do what you're doing, and he said to my parents that he was going to go to the canteen and get a cheese and ham croissant. You're 2 full-grown adults and your daughter is dying in front of you. She's weak. She has no muscle on her. There's no reason why you cannot get that croissant into her mouth. Well, even at that point, and at this point I couldn't really walk. I was wheelchaired everywhere. But that was just like waving a red flag to a bull, because all my anorexia did was go, really? Okay. I just don't know where from, but got the strength to fight them off. And he said the reason he did that was because he needed to see just how desperate the situation was, because he was going to try and get me into an adult eating disorder unit, and in order to do that he needed to show the severity of it. So my poor parents, they had to just try and do whatever they were told to do. They just didn't know what they were going to do. But I just laid there every day. I'd not at that point eaten anything for well over a month. I was having 8 cans of Diet Coke a day. That's all I'd touched. So eventually then I was taken back to the Epsom General Hospital, and they packed me in an ambulance, and I was actually an emergency admission to the Bethlem Royal Hospital in London, which is a specialised eating disorder unit. When I arrived, I was just so anti being there. I was adamant, you're not going to get me to eat. You're not going to get me to put on weight. A lot of the people in there were under section as well, so not necessarily wanting to get better or wanting to adhere to a program. And the way I saw it once I was in there was that the only way out was to eat my way out. So then I was on a mission of eat my way out, pretend I'm fine, and get out, and then you can go and lose your weight again. I never ever thought I was fat, and I think that's a massive misconception. That fed me to not like myself very much, therefore the self-destruction was feeding the not liking myself very much, but I was also still getting that kick of success and from what I was doing. For the first time, I think it gave me an insight into how people around me felt,